We got a really fun stream plan today, dude. We're gonna be answering questions from you guys about streaming and content creation and just anything in general that you might have, for me or for a streamer or whatever. I feel like I have a lot of information and a lot of insight since I've been doing this for fucking ever. And we usually do this towards 3 a.m. in Discord calls with other creators. But I think it might be fun to just to chat and hang out when people are actually awake. So I think this can be interesting. But yeah, I've been doing this. Been doing streaming and creating content for 9 years. So I feel like definitely someone who has a lot of info and loves to talk about it if people are down to hear about it. So I figure this makes sense. Let's get right into it. I think let's just get right into it and start talking about stuff. So this is Ali Source's question. What is the best way to as a viewer to support you during sponsored streams and show the brand it was a good match? So sponsored streams are very awkward, I think, sometimes as a streamer, because you have to try to find a brand that fits and makes sense. And sometimes a streamer will work with a brand that doesn't always 100% fit, but they know that it works, and it's hey, good money and help and pays the bills and all that. So I think you could tell when a streamer's working with a brand where they're genuinely hyped about it, and I think it's almost easier to support them or to sign up or whatever, or use their affiliate link when it feels like it's a genuine match, versus when it's just a one-off, all right, they're clearly just in it for the bag. I don't know. I feel like the last few streams I've done, I feel like I've worked with a bunch of games that have made sense, but once in a while you'll see a post or a stream where it's all right, I get it. So to answer your question, signing up or downloading a game or doing something that's free is always helpful. It's never expected or required, but it is helpful, and it does help us get more work, or work with other brands, or maybe a part 2. But it's never something that it's expected, or hey, do this for us. It's just more of a hey, if you're enjoying the stream and you think it's a cool game or a cool experience or event, and if you want to help support us, sure, sign up or whatever. Which is always nice. If the streamer seems extra excited about it, then they're probably genuinely just stoked on the brand itself, and you could always tell. And I think that almost is a great indicator of you know what? Let's instead of it just being a transactional thing where it's hey, I'm doing this, sign up please, thanks. It's more yo, this game is actually really cool, and if they could explain it and show you what it's all about, then it's more of it'll feel more organic to be hey, I'll help you out with that. If that makes sense. Rob, sometimes they will. Rob, imagine if I was hey, dude, get in line, bro. No, they do though. They do sometimes. Is Moo in here? Oh, she's so cute. She's laying on the floor right next to me. Hey, babe. Oh my gosh, she's rolling around. How does one get over the slump of no viewers and trying to keep yourself entertained and wanting to continue on streaming? So this question is actually a little tough for me, because I kind of was lucky where I started streaming with an already existing audience. So even if when I had my lowest viewers, it was still 15 to 20 people. So chat was still there essentially. But I can answer on days where chat is slow or where people aren't really talking or saying much. A great way to kind of try to get people to talk is asking questions that are kind of rhetorical, or being yo, so what's everyone up to? Yo, anyone got any fun plans this weekend? What everyone eat for dinner today? Little things like that, just to spark a conversation or get people chatting, can be fun because it gets people talking with each other, but also something for you to do, because streaming when no one says anything and the game not much is happening, it's just such an awkward moment of yo, okay, what's next? And you can almost tell sometimes, just watching a streamer, when they get to a point where they're yo, I don't know, what's next? I don't know what I'm doing, But if you're having 0 viewers consistently, then I would try to probably consider changing it up somewhat, somehow, because what you're doing isn't necessarily, it's not that it's not working, but it's not streaming 5 or 6 hours to 0 viewers versus trying to make content that gets you viewers. I would almost recommend making funny content elsewhere and pushing that versus streaming to literally no one for 6 hours. Because I feel like it's not that it's a waste of time, but it's like you could be better utilizing your 24 hours of your day, I think, with if you're consistently getting 0 viewers or 1 viewer or whatever. Because you want to utilize, what you're doing and what you're good at and try to get more eyes on you later on. And yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere, and like I completely get that, but I think like let's say you've been doing this for like 6 months and it's just a consistent 0 viewer only situation, then something's not working there and you have to figure that out. Whether it's creating content for TikTok or posting stuff on YouTube or changing the game up entirely or changing your schedule. There's a lot of factors and it's not easy. Discoverability on Twitch is super, super bad. So I would, consider looking into all that. This is from Catlin. All right. How do you start Neat Dude as a business? So Neat Dude started back in college. Back in college, actually. So Neat Dude was something that John and I started when we were in high school, I think. So it was something that we started back in like 2008, John and I. And then when we were in college, we made it our senior thesis, actually, where we focused, we wrote up like a whole thing, created a website, created like a whole brand identity, a logo, all that. And we kind of focused on it a lot. And it wasn't really like, it was like more of a collective of like, hey, we do designing, we do videos, we do, illustration, we do music, whatever. But it didn't really stick because there was too many hands involved. People, and we didn't really have like a vision. It was more just like a conglomerate of people like all around, where it was like, yeah, we're doing this, but like there wasn't really like any like business aspect behind it. So we kind of, after like a year or two, we eventually like split off, and like John and I focused on our own thing, and like the other guys went and did their own thing with like with music. And other guys did stuff with like film, and we focused on like design and like internet shit. And then Vine came along, and that's when we really focused on Neat Dude and honed in on like creating content and all that. And then we were like, yo, we should make like clothing or merchandise, because it'd be cool if people wanted to wear our stuff. But there was really no like idea. It was more just like, that'd be cool kind of thing. So we started making like, beanies, and we would send them out to people who were like big on Vine, because we also had like a Vine following, and people started to wear it and stuff like that. And then it kind of just took off from there. And it was like almost synonymous. Like if you were a Viner, you had a Neat Dude beanie. And it was really cool because we were like, just like young kids. We didn't really have any money. So no one expected us to pay them anything, because it was just like, yo, if you want to wear a hat, here you go. But if you don't, who cares? So that's kind of how it took off. And then from there, we pivoted eventually to Twitch. But like that's the general idea of like, it started off on Vine and doing it. We did all of our orders in our house. We would our first batch, we got like 20 beanies. We paid way too much for them. We sold them, I don't even think we made a profit on the first batch. And we would sell them, we would package them all up from my dad's house and send them out. And that was the first true story, man. So that's like that's the idea of how Neat Dude kind of first started, and where, all that good stuff. All right, this question is from Spillin' Tea. If you're ever not feeling creative or in the mood to stream, maybe it's like a week-long feeling like this, what do you do? Do you take time off, change up something? What do you do during those times when you're not feeling like doing the streaming content creator thing? Okay, that's actually a really good question, because there are a lot of days like this where you're, just not in the right headspace, or you're tired, or you're not like motivated, or you're like, you're in a fog, or shit's just like off. But the problem is, a lot of times, for me personally, like you could take off a day or two when you're not feeling it, but you can't. Sometimes, like on the days where you're having like a rough one, you kind of just have to fucking deal with it. You have to just realize that like this is what you're doing. Like we're in a very blessed position to be streaming and like playing video games and like entertaining people for a living, right? Especially where I'm at. Like I there's no excuse for me to take off like too many days, because you know, you got people who are subscribed to you monthly. You got people who sometimes are looking forward to it. You looking forward, or like not relying, but like they genuinely like enjoy like the stream when it's up for like background noise or company or whatever. So to take off like too many days in a row is just not an option unless, you know, you have something going on. You just can't. It's like any other job. You can't. But like if I streamed for, you know, like 5 or 6 days in a row or something, yeah, I'm taking off a few days or whatever. Like for me, it's like if I feel like I'm putting enough time in, then I could you know, take off to recharge and to focus, because balance is a big thing. And a lot of times, you know, if I'm streaming too much, I want to make sure I reciprocate that by hanging out with Shan, or, you know, doing stuff IRL, and make sure that I'm not neglecting that. Because if you only focus on one thing too long, then you're going to start feeling that imbalance, and it's going to show in your work more than if you weren't doing that. Yeah, like the flexibility is nice. Like being able to wake up and be like, you know what? I'm good today. I want to just vibe. Sure. But then you have to make up for it. Because a lot of people will say, it's fine, take your time off. It's fine, take some days off. But it's been proven, like, the numbers do not lie. If a streamer takes off like 7 to 10 days, they usually have a lower concurrent viewership and they lose subs. And that's just how it is. And that's just like how it is. And that's, if you're okay with that and you're down to grind it and getting back, that, you know, yeah. But like when people are like, it's fine, just take some days off. Like some people like cannot afford to do that, unfortunately, because, you know, whatever they make from streaming is like what they need to pay the bills, and it's rough because it's like it's you're kind of in a pickle there. But I think taking a few days off is super helpful mentally for like a nice creative reset too. Like taking time off, you could like figure out like what you feel like you want to do, because you don't want to get into a rut or get stuck or feel like you're, you know, not entertaining, because that also sucks. Like I'll take days. I was talking about this the other day with Whiskey and like Banth and Julia, but I'll take days off if I'm just like not in a good headspace, because I know I would rather not watch someone like that, because the content might not be interesting, or it might be like negative, or it might just be boring, and I would rather not put that kind of like, you know, shit out there. But other streamers do the opposite. They're like, you know what? Like I don't have someone to hang out with during the day. So like I all I have is like, you know, chat or people to hang out with. So like they'll go on and like tough it up and just go for it. It's kind of like a case by case basis, but I do think if you're taking too much time off, you know, you'll start to notice it. Like, you know, you'll start to notice your community not showing up, or people just doing other things, because people do like consistency. And if you're not consistent, then it'll affect you eventually. So as long as you know, take time for yourself, but also put time in for what your job is, then, you know, you'll do fine. It's just it can be tough sometimes. All right, this one's kind of the same question from Veda. Do you find it hard to balance working and just living your life? Does not having designated work hours make it difficult to separate work from outside life? Actually, I'll put that up here. One thing that like might sound strange. So, and this might sound silly, but like, just hear me out. So, content creators don't necessarily work 24/7, but you're like on call 24/7. And here's why. If you're out doing something, right? Like if you're out at a bar, or if you're out at an event and you're sharing it on your story or tweeting about it, that's work. It might not seem like it, but it is. It is technically like what you do, and it's you're sharing your life and showing people what you're up to. So that's a weird thing to think about when you always have to be on, kind of. Like if I'm out at a restaurant, I want to share like my food. Like for, you know, someone who doesn't have a following, it's kind of just like, whatever. Here's my food to my coworkers and my family. But when you're a streamer or, you know, a YouTuber or whatever, you're sharing it to tens to hundreds of millions of people. It's very interesting. It's a very different kind of vibe. And sometimes it's nice to like have some privacy, but also like sharing what you're doing as a part of the gig. So any, I think I'm better nowadays. I'm better nowadays.
Less than 3.
Like back when Vine was a thing, I would try to make a Vine out of literally everything. You could ask Shan this. Like anytime I was out doing something, it was always like, how can I make this a Vine? How can I make this new environment or this new area a Vine? Always. Where now I'm like, here's my food. See you later. Whatever. Am I follow up to that? Are you more conscious of like lighting and the quality of your pics? Me personally, not really, because I feel like you have a very specific style. There's people who are like only posting like selfies that are like really nice, and then there's people who post selfies as like a goof. I would hope that I'm more of like the goof guy, but like sometimes you'll post something that you feel like is good, but yeah, I'm not like super worried about lighting. Luckily, Shan's a photographer, so she'll help me out with that. But I'm not like someone who's like hey, we need perfect lighting for this pic. Balancing is huge. Like a big thing is like if I'm hanging out on the weekend or like hanging with people, try not to be on my phone as much as a big thing. But it can be tough because I would say I'm probably addicted to it. A lot of people are, especially with what we do. But like keeping it in another room or like just not touching it or keeping it in like a bag is super helpful because you're just like, all right, it's out of my hands. Fuck it. We're good. We're doing our own thing. But yeah, you're kind of working always, even though it sounds like strange because you're always, if you're sharing something on any of your platforms, you're essentially, that's part of your marketing and your branding. All right. Oh, this is a really good question. This is a really good question from Jin. How do you try to deal with difficult or awkward situations when you're live? And what is a real life negative impact the streaming has had on you? Both very real and raw questions. So the first one, every streamer knows when there's a weirdo or a potential weirdo or a situation that could potentially get strange. And I think chat also kind of can have like a third eye for that, especially if they've been around the block for a little bit. The best thing to do is to ignore them. Ignoring it is the best thing you can do because people, what they like is attention. And if you ignore it, you're good. If you ignore it, that's kind of your best bet is just kind of like going, okay, whatever. If it's someone who's a regular, it gets a little more difficult though. If it's someone who's been around as well, it can get more uncomfortable because it's someone that you kind of know or you recognize. That's tough because then it's kind of like, huh. Like if it's literally a new person or like a new user, literally like a 24-hour timeout or ban is so much easier because you're just like, all right, see you later, don't care, bye. But if it's someone who's like a part of the community, it gets kind of strange because you're like, okay, what's going on here? But it doesn't happen that often. But yeah, obviously like the mods will handle it, or I could just do it real quick and it's not a big deal. But yeah, bringing attention to it is definitely not it.
This community so much. Thanks for all the good vibes.
Bringing attention to it is probably the worst thing you do as a chat. It's because then it becomes like the main focus for like a few minutes and it's just like awkward. So if everyone ignores it, that's the vibe. I think a lot of people kind of do that already, which is cool. And which is nice. How do you know if you're a smaller streamer? That's much tougher. I actually feel like trolls are more prevalent in smaller streams, especially smaller streams with female presenting streamers. Because they know that their message is going to be seen, and that I genuinely don't really know what to like. I don't really know the right way to go with that. Because like if you time out, it's very obvious, right? Or if you ignore them, it's very obvious because you're clearly seeing it.
Nice.
So I think either like nipping it in the butt immediately and just banning him or make sure you have like the right settings on, like with like the email one and all that stuff. But yeah, that's tough. I think if you clearly feel like it's a weirdo, you could just time them out or ban them and there you go. Yeah, Kat. And I've seen a lot of people turn into content, which I think is smart. Because it's like then it's like a double whammy for you. You make content out of it, which is nice. And at the end of the day, yeah, I used to be extra like worried about that kind of stuff and be like, well, what are they gonna think? But at the end of the day, dude, they're gonna forget about it pretty much immediately as well. and move on because that's they're just getting kicks out of it. So you just kind of focus on like what you're doing, which is like having a chat of other people who are enjoying themselves. And then as what is a real life negative impact that streaming has had on my life? I've lost best friends because of it. Straight up. Because not because of something I've done, but like because of situations that have happened and people not knowing, their place and things like that. And it's very awkward because you're in the public's eye for years. And I've lost people who I would have, had at my wedding. You know what I mean? And them acting up or them being, strange or shitty, like it can completely fuck you up mentally, and it's very odd. It's a very odd situation, and it's something that I don't talk about that often because there's no point, because we move on. But it's something that you should be very, very familiar with if you want to step into this industry, because it's ruthless, it's odd, it's ever changing. You find out who's toxic and who isn't. You find out what your place is. You find out who's a genuine person, who's not. And it's very, very odd, man. It's very odd. But I would say that's probably one of the negative things, is you kind of go into it with like a big smile, but while you're in it, you're like, oh wow, okay. And other people's actions can reflect upon you, so you kind of have to make some pretty quick decisions. And it sucks. It genuinely sucks. But at the end of the day, you move on. You move on and you focus on yourself. And that's just how it is. All right. This next one is from Grace, a.k.a. Gilly, by the way. What are some viewer chatter do's and don'ts from your perspective as the streamer? Oh, man. You guys ready for a 24-hour stream? No, I'm just kidding. There's definitely a few questions for sure. A few things that come to mind. I think the biggest thing and the most frustrating and like annoying thing, and any streamers, feel free to just say, oh my God. When you're streaming and someone comes into your chat and is like, oh my God, blank is doing blank. Oh my God, blank is live. Why don't you just play with blank? Oh, blank is blank. Blank, blank, blank. In the nicest way possible, shut the fuck up. In the nicest way possible, shut the fuck up. Honestly, please. Just genuinely shut the fuck up. In the nicest way. This is being very nice. Because here's why. You're not watching a TV show, right? You're not watching Stranger Things, and someone's popping up being like, hey, Grey's Anatomy's on if you want to watch that instead. Grey's Anatomy's on. Maybe we could watch that over here? Shut up. No one cares, dude. Shut the fuck up. We're doing our thing. If we were going to play, we would have literally talked about it. If we were going to play, it would have already fucking been a thing. Literally. You don't think everyone's already talking every day, nonstop in all their group chats? We would have already been playing. So do not ask those questions. It's fucking awkward, man. It's just so awkward, and it seems like you're only here to be the person who connects people. Hey, by the way, like, you're good. You move on. We're fine. We're doing our thing. Everyone who's live, like right now, I bet you, like Julian, Jason, they're all streaming right now, right? And they're doing their thing. They already had this planned. We're good. If we're gonna play, it'll happen. If it's not like a thing where it's like, hey, by the way, because like it'll happen. It'll happen. And that's it. That's it. So that's the biggest thing. Is just don't talk about other people who are live. That is the biggest thing, because it's awkward, especially when people bring my name up to other streamers when I'm streaming and they're also live, or vice versa. It's just too much. A lot of people's jobs, like in the audience, is to just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Like there's no need to like try to get your hands in all the different situations. No, and I'm not like shitting on you guys, because a lot of times those aren't even rules. There's not really rules about it. It's more just like a unspoken streamer etiquette. But if that's one thing that you could take away from this, is like try your best to not let people like to do that, because it could also just be tough, because then it's like it has the other streamer who's currently live, double guessing themselves and being like, oh, people are going to go over there now. Or like, people are going to think about them, or like, oh, what are they doing over there? Are they having fun? Like, am I weird? Like, it's just like you start to like spiral in your own brain. So that's just as helpful as I could be, is just don't bring up other people's streams. Unless the streamer's talking about it or like asking about it, just don't. It's weird. Rating's different. Rating is when you're ending your stream and you're like, hey, go over there. Or when someone brings people over here, hey, what's up? Look at this. Their community's over here. That's amazing. Raids are awesome. I think raids are great. I've found a lot of great streamers through raids, and I've also sent people to great streamers because of raids. Yeah, Ellie, no, exactly. And it's tough. It's tough because you don't want to feel like people are only here to tell you about other things happening. Like, you want people to be here for like what you're doing. And you see it in every stream. You see it in every stream, especially in these tight-knit communities. And I know it's not like intentional or meant to be shitty, but it's just something that like, just something to think about, something to consider. Yeah, Crispy, for sure. Especially when it's like, if chat's slower and then it's like, oh, Chris is live, by the way. Oh, cool. Okay. So what am I supposed to do with that information? I'm also doing something over here, It's like, okay. No, I didn't actually, but that's a good one. When something super sad happens, especially like a world event, the first place to tell anyone about it is definitely not a live stream where someone's immediate live reaction is. But that's just like, that's almost asking too much, I think. But that's a big thing. Bringing up, like, you wouldn't like yell in like, I don't know, like an auditorium with a ton of people, like, hey, this tragedy just happened. Anyone's thoughts on this? Hey, a world-renowned actor just died. Because then it's just like, all right, I'm playing The Sims. I'm playing Fortnite. Now I have to think about this guy being dead the whole rest of the stream? It just completely throws off the vibe. Yeah, trauma dumping can be strange, because I understand, like, wanting to have a conversation, but it's also like, you could be in like a top 3 situation. Someone could be like, hey, my roommate died last week, and I'm so happy you're streaming because I've been really sad lately. For the 14 months. You're like, anyone got any minis? Like, what are you supposed to do in that situation? Like, it's like, what are you supposed to do? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, it's just because like, it's like the content and then like the subject combined is just so strange. Yeah, because like, how could it? I think sometimes people think that or forget that. Like someone like me, for example, right? It's tough to give you a full like response because there are so many people. Like if everyone resub with like a sad thing, like how could I equally give it out to everyone? It's just kind of like, okay, I'm sorry, I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here, but it's like I can't like genuinely like be like, I'm so sorry. Like I didn't know anything about that person. I don't fucking know the situation at all. I'm just some guy who plays games and is kind of good at them sometimes. Yeah, it's literally like a lose-lose, because you want to be supportive, but you also don't want to like look like you're brushing it off. But then you're also trying to entertain people. But now it's like there's a sad subject in your brain, so you're like trying to get a dub, and you have a 10-kill game going. But then you found out someone died, and you're like, hey. Anyway, how do you get the courage to start? I've always wanted to stream for a long time, but I think my biggest fear is my IRL friends and family would judge you. That is actually a really good one. That's a really good question. This is from Joel. Most of the time, your family and friends will judge you, and they will still judge you. I'm still getting judged 5 years later. I'm making more money than most of my peers and my family, and I'll still get judged. And it's not even like a negative judge. And I'm not even trying to flex. I'm just genuinely like trying to have a conversation here. But like, I wake up late, right? Like I go to bed late. I wake up late. I have a weird sleep schedule. I fucking work on the weekends. I work at night. Like, I don't see people. I miss events because of work. And like a lot of people, will be like, well, why? Like, what the fuck? But it's like, because I need to. Because if I'm not streaming certain days, or if I'm not streaming at certain events or certain things, like, it'll affect, what my job, and it'll affect my audience. So you have to be flexible. You have to be able to make sacrifices. You have to be able to be like, hey, I can't do this tonight because I'm literally working. And it's you're always going to get judged because this industry is still new. It's still a baby. It's still strange. The idea, I don't think it's going to be like this in the next 10 years. Like the idea that like I think subscriptions are the best, like a great way to support a streamer. But I think eventually it'll either go like ad based or like something different where like more like YouTube where, you watch an ad and if you don't want to watch an ad, you sub and it's like, that's it. And like, which is kind of what it is right now. But like, it's just very odd right now, man. It's ideally you don't have like getting money from your audience won't be the way in the future. It's hard to say where it'll go, but like down the road, I think it'll change, hopefully. But currently, that's kind of what it is, and that's just how it has to be. But yeah, like I'm subbed to like I think 15 channels, and I don't mind it, and I'll still do it. But like, because like I know the grind, I know the work people put into it, and I'm like, you know what? Like fuck yeah, here's $5 a month for you. Keep doing your fucking thing. But I think down the road, like, something's going to change. So I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but something's going to change where hopefully streamers get a better cut or a better pay or something, and it's not out of the pockets of just the viewers, but more from the platform they're on in some way, shape, or form, whether it's consuming ads more or, like, something different. I don't know. But it is strange. Yeah, Corey, well, a lot of people don't understand how Twitch can be a social thing. People just go, wow, you watch some guy play a game for hours on end. And like, yeah, I could watch anyone do anything, on Twitch. The chat is a big part of it. The community that you cultivate and like the humor that, or like the cleverness that comes along with a good chat adds to the experience tenfold. Like if you get a sick dub and like the chat's going nuts, that's sick. Or like, you're playing a game and it's a funny moment, or like you're playing observation duty, like chat really is a big part of it. But there are some chats out there that fucking suck because the streamer just doesn't care, or like that's kind of the way they have created it. And you could definitely tell like the vibes of a chat when you're in it for the first 5 to 10 minutes. And some are different. Some are like extra edgy, some are not edgy, some are like very safe, some are almost like too safe. But there are like some streams you walk in and like you can't do anything in it, and you're like, all right, I'm out of here. Like, like some are like so moderated, some are not moderated at all. I feel like we have a nice balance in here. It's very like, hey, whatever, And if you say something super fucked up, you're out. But like ours is like, But one thing, this is like another thing that like it's probably a question. But if you're a new viewer or a new chatter, and you're fucking with me or like roasting me, and I don't know anything about you. That's a strange thing. Someone who's been here for 3 or 4 years, that makes sense because we have a little repertoire or whatever. But if you're a new person, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea who you are at all. And that's awkward. You're a stranger just shitting on me for no reason. I don't know who you are. Like, hang around a little bit, and if I start to recognize you, sure, you can banter back and forth. But otherwise, it's just like, yeah, who are you? It's just awkward. I don't know. But yeah, you'll see that. You'll see that from time to time, like people who are like weird or like goofing on you, and you're like, I literally don't know who you are. There was an article that was discussing the streamer job and the many ones who get depression because of the pressure. Yeah. Oh yeah. Streaming is not a great job for people who are depressed or who have depression, and a lot of them do. I do. I found out. But luckily, I've been doing this for so long that I just kind of had to know how to deal with it. But your number is your whole worth is completely numbers based. So if you go live one day with like X amount of viewers, and then the next day it's like hundreds less, like dude, I can literally switch a game and lose hundreds of viewers. Imagine standing in front of 600 people, and then 300 walk out because you just did one thing. How, like, that's fucking wild for your brain. It's very bizarre. Like, that's what it literally is. 300 people just standing up and walking out and like fucking flicking you off and saying, see ya. It's very odd. It's very odd, man. And that's just how it is, though. Like, some streamers will literally lose thousands of viewers if they switch a game, or if they don't show up for a week. All right, hold on 1 second. This one's from Ryan, aka Poor Taste. That's why I turned my viewership off. I turned it off because I would rather not know how many viewers I have. I know a lot of streamers who do that. It's kind of the wave, and that's another thing too. Like, mentioning viewer count in chat, it can definitely fuck with someone. So try not to do that. Are there any specific moments you remember where it all clicked and you knew this was where you wanted to be, like core memories? But that's a good question, actually. That's really nice. I guess like certain monumental moments, like raising money for charity, hitting like, certain amount of subs, being like, wow, this could be a real thing. Having people in my chat, like some of my earliest memories were like during, the PUBG days where I had people in my chat at like 4 a.m. still vibing. I'm like, wow, like I could just do this and people will just show up at any time of day. Another big one is like day streams. When people show up in day streams, you're like, wow, like people care. But at the same time, dude, I could be having my best month and still be like, that's it, man. We're done. No one's gonna care anymore. Raise your hand if you're a streamer and you've had this thought. No one's showing up. I'm done. There's no games left. I'm fucking washed. It's over. No one cares. No one's showing up. That's it. It's time to pack it in. It's time to pack it in. We're done. I have that all the time. All the time. And but at the same time, but not all the time. Sorry, not all the time. It's like this. It's like this. It's a wave, because some days you're like fucking like, dude, there are days where I'm popping off like a week straight where I have 1,000+ concurrent viewers, and I'm like, that's fucking wild. That's sick. But then like you're like, man, I'm playing Fortnite again. Like shit. Like people are gonna get tired of this shit. But like, we're having great games and people are showing up, and it's like, okay, I guess people are so into it. But it's like you always have that in the back of your mind, like, well, when's the switch? When's it gonna happen where no one cares? And it's weird. It's a weird thought, but a lot of streamers do that. That's why they're always streaming. That's why people are always online, because they know they have to be. Because if they're not on, those viewers are elsewhere. As sad as that sounds, as competitive as that sounds, if you're not streaming, those viewers are elsewhere. Whether they're consuming other content or in another community or whatever, they're elsewhere, and they're not watching you or interacting with your community. And it's a weird thing to think about, but like you kind of have to think that way. Like, so that's why people try to stream as much as they can, so people come back and hang out. Because if you don't, they could be gone forever. They could be gone forever, and that's it. And then you have to, start from square one again. It's weird, man. It's really strange. I've had this conversation so much, but I love talking about this kind of stuff, because analytics don't lie, man. Analytics don't lie. All right, here's another question from Grace. Back in your Vine days, how did you tell your family you were getting big on the internet? Did they have any trouble understanding your internet friendships or anything? Oh, that's a good question. And it could kind of relate to, I guess, people with Twitch nowadays. My mom was super stoked about it. She thought it was so cool. She was like, "Oh, you're gonna be famous!" Like she was into it. She loved reading all the comments, and my dad did too. It kind of happened very gradually. Like I went from like, I grew on Vine very slowly, and then it kind of picked up and got really big and like weird towards the end. But like I was with my dad when I will never forget when I got first recognized with my dad, and he was like blown away. I was in Philadelphia with him. We were walking down the sidewalk, and some guy walked up and was like, "Yo, are you Chris Melberger?" And my dad was like so proud and was like, you know this guy?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "How do you know him?" And he's like, his videos are funny. And my dad was like, he couldn't believe it. He was like, "What the fuck? Like that's weird as hell." I'm like, "Yeah, like it's a real thing. I swear." And so they thought it was cool. My mom thought it was bullshit though. She was like, "What?" Because I met the first lady. I went to the White House for Vine, and she was like, "That's so fucking stupid." She was like, "Huh? Why are you going to the White House for what you do? Like your videos are about like vaping and dumb shit." I was like, "I don't know." She was like, "Can I come?" I'm like, "I don't think so." So they were supportive of it ultimately, because I had a lot of cool opportunities happen because of it. But at first they were kind of like, "You're not going to be able to do this forever, man." So yeah. And they loved meeting all my internet friends. Like they would all come over, and we'd always make Vines, and they loved it. They thought it was so cool, because a lot of my Vine buddies were funny. So, and that's how I met Shan too. How and when did Twitch get on your radar, and what made you decide to try it out? Did you see the potential early on, or was it something you were just fucking around with? Okay, that's a good one. So once Vine ended, I had 1.5 million followers on Vine. And I was like, oh, that sucks. That is getting completely deleted because, like, what am I going to do? I push people to my Twitter and my Instagram, but I was really like, you guys, come check out my YouTube. And I thought I was going to be like a YouTuber. I was like, I'm going to make fucking sketches. I'm going to make, videos, and I'm going to blow up, and it's going to be amazing. But YouTube doesn't give a shit about videos that are under 5 minutes. YouTube, if your video is under 5, even under 10, but especially under 5, they're not going to push it. You can't really put ads on it. So a lot of my sketches that I filmed just didn't go anywhere, which kind of sucked because it was like a lot of fun, to make all these sketches in these videos. But they didn't really take off. The scare cams did well, and some other fake prank videos did well, like the guitar pranks and stuff. But ultimately, it was kind of like a dead end. There was really no growth there. And so I was kind of posting, on YouTube and Instagram, and I was working. I forget what, or I was kind of working, but I had enough money saved from work. I worked at Twitter and Vine for a year, so I had a lot of money saved, which was nice. And then I had some brand deals that were cool, but I was kind of in a weird pickle. I was like, do I get a job or what? Because I was still living at home, so I didn't really have much rent. And then one of my buddies was like, yo, you stream on Twitch, man. And I was like, I don't know. He's like, you should, man. It's dope. And I would always get retweeted by this dude who was a streamer and did video games. But dude, I never watched any video game content. I didn't even really play video games. I didn't get it. I was like, why do people fucking watch people play games? I literally never cared at all. But this guy was a big fan of mine. He was always retweeting my stuff and was always into my videos. And that guy was Ray Navarez Jr. And he was I met up with him at Playlist one year, and he was like, dude, you should stream. You're a funny guy. You should be on Twitch. And I was like, you think? Do people think people will give a fuck? He goes, dude, you're funny, man. You should just give it a shot. And I was like, all right. So we tried it out. We started with PUBG and Hearthstone, and I was a 15 to 20 viewer Andy for ever. That was my number was around 20 viewers was I started and I thought that was low. I was like, man, 20 viewers? Man, no one cares. Which is so wrong because nowadays 20 viewers means you're on the top 1% of Twitch. That's really fucking good. But at the time I was 20 viewers, no one cares. I'm washed. I have to just get a job, I think. But then that number slowly started to change. You got to 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s. Between 70 and 100 was the sweet spot for a while. And then I was in my 150 era for years. But yeah, Ray was someone who was really into pushing it and was like, dude, you would do well. You really got to try. So I stuck it out, and people were down, and it worked out. How did you balance a full-time job while trying to get streaming going? So that's a good question because I didn't really have a full-time job, but I did at the same time. I'll answer that real quick. So Neat Dude was at the time in my dad's basement. We had all of our gear there. We had all of our shirts there. So I would do all the orders. Me and Shan would for years, it was just us. And then we would have pals come over if it started popping off. And we would do all the orders together. Yeah, Crispy or Kev would be there. And it was fun, but it was kind of a lot. So, yeah. So eventually it got to a point where I was like, I can't do both. I can't stream and also do orders. So Shan eventually started doing them full time. But we eventually moved out, and we have a place now in California who does it for us. But it was definitely stressful as hell. Because it would take 3 hours to package up everything. Then I would stream, which would suck because I would be tired. So that was a tough time. But people who stream and have full-time jobs, they genuinely surprise me. I don't get it, man. But yeah, I don't understand how you do it, man. Because working full-time to pay your bills and streaming, I couldn't imagine. Because you have to keep up, and if you're not keeping up, then it's no one cares, and then it's the cycle repeats. It's tough. So more power to you guys. I don't really have any advice other than just try to fucking balance it as much as you can. This question's from Mr. Law. Mr. Robert Law right here. With the plethora of games to stream and other categories on Twitch, do you ever find yourself feeling stagnant in what you play? How do you find? Yeah, 100%. This is a great question because every streamer does. Because once you change it up, your numbers take a dive, or chat doesn't talk as much, or it's just a slower night. You go, fuck, change can be scary. So you go back to the tried and true. You go back to what works. And you'll see that like a lot of streamers have like their one game that like they know does well, the one game that like they feel comfortable in, that they're good at, or they're fun, they enjoy, which is great. But one of the best things I ever did was branch out to variety, because I can go live any day of the week with any game and people will show up. Whether it's the same number, sure, maybe not, but like it keeps it fresh, keeps it interesting. I think the biggest challenge is stretching a game that and you could tell there are games or like streams that should just be 5 hours, right? Like this is a 5-hour game and that's it. But like for me, I feel like I'm not happy unless I go 6 to 8. Like I feel like I need to at least get 6 to 8 hours in, unless it's like a different kind of a stream or a vibe. So it's like you do this, then I'm like, okay, now what's next? I'm always like a what's next guy. I'm never just like a 5 and done guy, which like might be not the best, but everyone's different. Like for me, I'm like a I need to do something after this. Like I'm always like I need to keep going. It's like the 4 cap or this or that. But I also genuinely enjoy playing Fortnite at the end of a stream because it's like fun. You get to wind down, you get to get some kills in, you get to maybe get a dub, and also get to hang out with your friends. But yeah, everyone's different. Some people do shorter streams. Some people do longer streams. A 4-hour banger could be more entertaining than a 9-hour one, Or like, it depends, like what people want. Yeah, or like the 4 a.m. marble streams. It just depends. It depends on what people want. So the creative block, I think one of the things that I love, Rob, is the idea of like, okay, there's not much going on. I'm kind of like, not feeling anything. Dude, a fucking classic solo game, a single player game, like a playthrough that no one's seen before. Like that's always like a great fix to the lull or like the dullness of like, there's nothing out there. Play a game that like is like a nice one streamer game, or like a few days and people show up and it's fun to like, something like that's different but like enjoyable. Kilokina, I mean, chat interaction, it helps. Sometimes my streams with the most viewers, my chat is actually slower sometimes than a lower viewer chat. And I was always like confused about that. But then I realized sometimes I think lower viewer streams, people feel more connected or more likely to chat because it's like less pressure maybe. So like that makes sense then, where it's like, it's just more of like a, hey, what's up? How you doing? But kind of thing, where like a bigger stream maybe could be more overwhelming, or like more like, I don't want to say anything and get judged kind of vibe. So, or people are literally just watching it and just tossing it on the screen or on their like monitor, and they're just sitting back and watching. Because I would literally get off stream sometimes and like look at my my analytics and be like, what the fuck? I had 1,000 viewers since when? It's like, it was feeling like a 400 for sure that night. This question is from Smell the Peaches. Realistically, what would you say is the startup cost for streaming? Like if you're starting from zero with no equipment, approximately how much you think you need to invest to get started? That's a good question. It depends on like what you want to do. Like you want to go live just from like your iPad and just talk, $1,000 or less, right? Boom. You want to play games? 15. Dude, it's tough, man. Like a good PC with enough monitors to read chat. I would say two at the minimum. 2K at the minimum for a PC that can run games decently with monitors, so you can have chat open as well as like another monitor for your game, plus like lighting and a mic and a good mic. Dude, it's like maybe even like between 2 and 3. Like you're gonna get bare bone bullshit, I think, with 2. Because a mic, a headset, a keyboard, a mouse, like there's so much shit that you need. Like a lot of this stuff I've been able to accumulate over time. Even like a system, dude, like a Switch, a PS4, or whatever, a nice chair. Like my setup probably is over 6K or more, I would say at this point. With all the lighting, all the monitors, all my like sound things, like my fucking arms, my mic, my headphones, like everything, like easily. My desk, it's probably actually close to 8, I would say. But that's after years. My first year of streaming was like a PC that was $1,000, a monitor that sucked ass, and then I had a laptop that was a piece of shit that I read my chat on. And that was how I did it. So you could definitely do it. You know, you can go bare bones for, you know, and then see if it makes sense, see if people show up. But I would not spend a ton of money early on and hope that you do well, unless like you're also just a gamer, because I've seen it so many times. People spend like so much money and they think they're going to be like these huge streamers. And it's like, dude, that was a lot of money. And now you just kind of have the setup. Now what? So I think like even seeing if you can handle just like the idea of like, you know, streaming for 5 hours or 8 hours, like you don't understand, like 8 hours is a long time. A lot of people are like, I could do it. And then you're like, it's been 3 hours. What's up? What do I even talk about now? You know, it's weird. This is a great question from Kenny. Right here. Do you think streamers who are older than 30 have less of a chance to make it on Twitch? Absolutely. I 100% agree. And before people go, no, 100%. But here's the thing. If you're just someone over 30 and you have no connections and nothing, why am I going to watch you, right? Like you have to figure out like, you know, everything up front. Like you have to be like, okay, like I got so lucky. Like why would I watch some 30-year-old guy who has no connections or to anything, like just starting out? It just makes no sense. But once like you figure out like what they're about or who they're playing with or what they're doing or like if they're good at a game, and then you slowly start to, because it's much tougher. It's much tougher to integrate into a crew of people when you're older, I think. Like we're all very lucky because we got into it like in our 20s, right? But like there is like a streamer culture on Twitter and everything like that. But I do think it's tough. It's tough. You have to have connections, and a good support system and friends. But once you get all that, then I'm sure, yeah, it's easier. But like even like brands are always looking at the younger people, like the fresh faces, you know. It's just how it is, unfortunately. But I'm also I'm at the most successful I've ever been, and I'm in my 30s. You know what I mean? I don't think it's an impossibility at all. Because a lot of people who I game with are in their 30s and they're doing well. But it's not going to be easy, mainly, is what I'm saying. It's not an easy road. You can do it. It's just not easy. And then once you know you're shining and people can see what you're all about, then age doesn't really matter. Like I have a lot of friends who are really funny and they're 20, they're 23, they're 38. Like as long as you're cool and like normal and like a good person and like can make me laugh, like it doesn't matter. Like I'll watch your stream. So but I do think that there are people who will watch someone who's in their early 20s versus someone who's in their 30s strictly because of that. Like, because like you could just not be relatable. Like I could not be relatable. And more people are in their 20s who are on Twitch, most likely. Like I could not be relatable to some people because I'm older. And that's just like another thing. Like people who are like in their, like teens or 20s, like are just have different dialogue or whatever. And yeah, I'm married and have a mortgage. Like a lot of people probably like, okay, what the fuck? But then like you start to accumulate people who also are similar to you. Like people who are married or people in their 30s, people who fucking, doing this or that. And you're like, all right, hell yeah. And so you cultivate a following that kind of grows with you or like fits your vibe. But I don't think it's that controversial to say that starting streaming in your 30s is more challenging than your 20s. I don't think that's that controversial. I think that's just a true statement. It's possible, but it's definitely much harder. Yeah, Granny's 103. She's killing it, man. 30, married with a mortgage, here for the vibe. Let's go. Ooh, good question. Good question. Two good ones. Here we go. How long did it take you to find your groove in terms of what games and content fits you best for your stream? What are some things that you consider nowadays when deciding what games content to try out on stream? All right, so I found out pretty quickly that people enjoy single player playthroughs on my stream. They enjoy like Animal Crossing was a big surprise when that happened. Animal Crossing was a very big surprise. Like that was when like my channel took off in terms of like overnight viewership was like almost doubled or tripled what I normally had. And so I was like, okay, this is my thing, I think, for a little bit. But I genuinely liked it. But then it gets to a point where you're like, I like this, but I also like that people show up. And that's a weird balance because you want to make sure you're still enjoying yourself, but also you want to make sure people, you know, are showing up and like still down to hang. So that's a very strange, it can be tough because like, let's say one day you're like I would go from like AC to like Warzone and no one gave a fuck about Warzone. And I feel like that almost made me hate it more. I was like, you know what? This game sucks because I would like do well, but like no one really cared. So it's kind of like, all right, I guess fuck Warzone forever, you know? And some streamers, you know, can play whatever the hell they want and get people to show up. And I think I'm at a point where that is possible. But at the same time, it's like if you don't play it, and it's kind of like, all right, who cares? Like no one would have cared anyway. But yeah, AC. I mean, AC also was like came out at the right time. It came out when everyone was fucking home and bored and stuck inside. So it was like a huge W for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I think it's a lot easier for me to switch games up. Whereas if you're a smaller streamer, switching games up can like literally make or break your whole stream. Like you could play a game and have literally no one there, or you could play a game and have like a solid amount. And I think it depends a lot on like, you know, your schedule and like when people show up and like your content in general. But I have a pretty good idea of like what people would want to see from me. But at the same time, I don't know. Like I played Valorant the other day and I had 600 people here, which is like fucking weird because Valorant I feel like I'm trash at and it's kind of weird to watch. But I think testing and like trying things out is also a great way to kind of just, you know, figure it out.
So glad to be a part of this community.
Because if you don't practice or try, then like you're never gonna know. Like I think like just testing shit out. Like, yo, will people care if I play League of Legends? Will people care if I play this or that? Like just trying instead of talking about it is always a move. And if no one shows up, okay, now you know. Or people like sometimes I'll do streams where it's like just new names in chat who are talking a lot, and it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know, like that's cool. Like seeing a new faces like talking about shit or being stoked about an ace or like, you know, defusing the bomb. Rob, yeah, I do think that if I was to play League of Legends, I think a lot of people would literally just fucking bounce because having to learn something requires like time and energy and patience, and some people just don't want to do that. They want to watch mindless shit, which is completely fair. I don't want to watch someone and have to feel like I'm working and like having to learn shit, you know? Like I'm good. Like I would rather just watch some bullshit where it's like, hey, they got a sick kill. Cool. Nice. But I think if there is a learning curve with a game and the audience already understands it or plays it, then sometimes those chatters are almost more hype, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, people are almost more hype because they know what's going on more so. All right, this is a great question for Woogs, from Woogs as well. When collaborating with other streamers, how do you balance playing with your friends while also trying to reach out and meet new, different types of streamers, especially in regards to diversity? Very, very good question. Because I think a lot of people, especially myself in the last few years, you know, you're guilty of this, right? You play with a lot of people who look like you or act like you or talk like you or whatever, you know, and you don't really realize you're just vibing. But especially like with like Among Us lobbies or like different kind of lobbies, like I think diversifying who you play with is a big thing. Especially, you know, like I feel like I'm pretty good at like playing with, you know, a lot of people, right? But you could always be doing better jobs at that. I try to play with, you know, friends and people who make me laugh, but like you want to make sure you play with people with different skin color, people, guys, girls, non-binary pals. Like literally if your lobbies are only people who look like you, then you have more work to do, I think, because it's just a strange thing to just, because you're not really growing yourself there, right? You're not like expanding or giving other people some eyes. You're kind of just tucked away in like a corner. Like I think it's smart and just a good move to just kind of diversify. And that's why you try to play with people as much as you can. Yeah, representation, absolutely. Yeah, it matters. But yeah, like I try to play with tons of different people all the time. But I also, but also at the same time, I do like to play with like the go-tos, people who I'm comfortable with, people who I, know and can like riff with. Because like if you're playing with someone who you don't really know their humor or like their style or like what you can banter about. So that comes with time. I think that comes with time. Yeah, Mayor, for sure. Team Me Too when it first started was literally just like people who watched my stream. That was literally when we started. I was like, yo, who streams and who wants to be on this team? And that was it. And now it's like a lot of people. And it's a lot of great streamers and people who I like to watch. But at first, that's literally what it was. It was like, hey, I could do this, so I'm a partner. I guess I can make a team. Cosmic Knife, this is a good question. What are some must-haves when it comes to streaming equipment? And what are some things you think are not necessarily must-haves, but you recommend? So must-haves for streaming equipment. At least 2 monitors, a mouse, a keyboard. A Stream Deck is nice. You don't necessarily need one or when you're first starting out, but Stream Decks are super nice and like they're cool because you can just do stuff like this, which is kind of fun. Headphones. Capture card is nice if you plan on playing a video game like on your PlayStation or Xbox or Switch. Capture card is necessary. A good camera. You could use like a Logitech Brio or like C940 or whatever the hell they're called. Like you don't need anything super crazy for your first few years of streaming or whatever. But a nice camera eventually when you want to change things up. A Stream Deck is what I use right here. So like I could talk in chat right now. Look at that, ready? Like anytime you see me talking in chat, I'm literally pressing buttons. I'm pressing random buttons right now, and that's why I can do that in chat. It's a little thing called the Stream Deck. It's right here. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. This is my little guy, and it has like all these little fancy things on it. You could change your scenes up as well, which is super nice. So most streamers, if you're watching them, have one of these. That's definitely something that that's like the biggest. You don't need it, but you should have one. In terms of like, if streaming feels like it's going to be a thing for you, then I would get this for my first purchase immediately, 100%. And then a light, like a ring light, just to have good lighting, because a lot of streamers have just shitty lighting, and it's just like not pleasant to look at. So good lighting is always a move. A mouse pad, obviously, and like a nice chair, so you're not hurting your back by sitting like a shrimp, would also be helpful. But yeah, like for me, I have a really good mic. I have a nice mic stand, so I can move it around. I have an audio device that's focused right here. It's like an audio thing for my mic, which is nice. So to play with it's like a mixer essentially. I have like wireless headphones are not necessary, but they're so nice, dude, because you can like do anything with them. Like I could leave the room and still hear shit. Like I would say wireless headphones are the most the best thing that you don't need. Like they're so nice. They've upped the ante up big time because you're not like there's no wire in your way. You could kind of move around more. So I would highly recommend a wireless headphone. Could you discuss how you deal with essentially running your own business, like dealing with tax and keeping track of work expenses? It's a lot. It's a lot of work. I have an accountant who does all this stuff for me though. All I have to do is give him all my papers, all my 1099s, all that shit. At the end of the tax year, and they figure it all out for me. But it's not fun because I make money from various things, from streaming, from YouTube, from brand deals, from Neat Dude, from bits, from donations, from fucking Epic Games, from SteelSeries. So like there's a lot of revenue coming in from a ton of different areas. So you have to make sure you call all of that out. Twitch doesn't have tax, no. So when I get paid, I have to pay all the taxes off. So a lot of streamers don't know that. or they find that out the hard way. They'll be like, hey, I made $20,000 this year. No, you didn't, because you're paying that to the man. He made way less than that, and sometimes they'll already have spent it or like used it, and then they get fucked because they don't know. You did not. But yeah, it's always fun at the end of the year. Like, how much am I gonna owe? Oh, Edgy Hispanic also asking. I see it a lot, but I'm still confused. Why is it better for most content creators to do quarterly taxes? Because it's estimated. So quarterly taxes are nice because it's estimated. So my accountant will be like, "Do you think you're gonna make this much this year or what?" And I'm like, "I think maybe." So you pay in every quarter instead of having a fucking huge lump sum at the end. Would you rather pay $5,000 every quarter or $20,000 at the end of the year? You know what I mean? A quarter, it just hurts less. And then sometimes if you overpay, you'll get money back. Or if you underpay, you already put in a decent amount. So that's why quarterly taxes are also preferred by streamers and independent contractors, because you don't want to get just shafted at the end of the year with like a ton. All right, this one's from Vibe right here. Are there days when you wake up and feel like you need to force yourself to stream? Like, are there days when you have to battle with yourself when it comes? Yes. Yes. Some of my best streams, I woke up and didn't want to stream. Like, some of my best streams, I would say, were ones where I was like, man, like I have to fucking stream today, dude. But yeah, it's tough because it's mainly like a mental thing, right? Like, you're like, you know, you're comfortable, you're in bed, or you're doing shit outside, and you're like, fuck, like, you know, at some point we have to work, we have to get going. There are days where it's so easy, you get on, you fucking play a game that you're really looking forward to, and you have a blast, and you get off. Or like, you're playing with a ton of friends, and you get on, you laugh, you drink, you relax, you know, have fun, you get off. But there are days definitely where, you know, you're like just not feeling it. And those days, you know, you could take off, right? But if you have stuff planned, it's much different, because you can't really just take off if you had plans unless, like, you know, you really have to. But sometimes all it could be is like, you know, just a change of scenery, or like maybe going outside, getting some sun, or like fucking having a good coffee, or like eating a good meal. Then you're like, all right, cool. Like, we're ready to go. But there are days for sure that, pressing go live can be tough, but at the same time, like, you kind of have to just fucking do it, because it's you know, it's your job. And if you let like one feeling mess with you, then it could become more consistent, and then more excuses can happen, and then more time off can happen, and then eventually it's like, yo, you're ever streaming again? So generally you could tell when it's like a need versus like a desire, right? Like like I need to take off, like, sure. But like sometimes it's like, I'd rather just not be working. But like, yeah, but you can't just not work. Like, if people want to, you know, watch your shit, and you need to put the time in, like, you can't just not stream, because that's not fair to your community. If it's weird, it's a weird thing, because yeah, like, you should take off obviously if like you're not feeling it, but you can't get too comfortable. Getting comfortable can be weird, where like you're just always off, or you're just never like. Because if you just like don't look forward to doing it, then why are you doing it in the first place? Like, off days are very common, but having an off day like more than not, then something's wrong there, and you should reevaluate. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if you have more off days or more days where you don't want to, then reevaluate why you're doing this to begin with, because that doesn't make sense. Because you should want to like be doing this, or else what's up? Here's a good question. Here we go. From Colwell. Streaming and online content creation is a relatively new industry. We haven't really seen anyone have a full career that spans 30 plus years and retire from doing YouTube or streaming, not including those who made it to the very top 0.001%. How do you see that playing out, not only for yourself, but in general as well? I think a lot of YouTubers and content creators are going to retire early, because some people don't realize, like, the top ones, right? Not like the top of the crop. I think a lot of them are going to retire early because they're going to be burnout from, you know, the constant limelight, but also because they're fucking loaded. Dude, so many of these YouTubers and streamers have fuck you money. They could retire now, but they're still young, so they're like, I guess I'll fucking keep doing this. Like, a lot of them are going to retire early, make a ton of investments, and just have money constantly fucking being made for them, and they're gonna be chilling. You know, I think it's different for like the more mid-tier people, right? Like people who are making, you know, under 500K, right, a year. Like that's still like incredible money, but depending on your lifestyle, like a lot of that could be, you know, fucking used monthly, right? Plus, as you get older, people might not, or like as your career like goes on and on, you might not have not as many people showing up. Or your income fluctuates literally every year. You can have 1 year that's really good, 1 year that's kind of off. So it's hard to say like for a majority of streamers like what's going to happen, but I think a lot of the big ones can retire whenever they want. Straight up. This one's a good one from Bailey. When did you feel comfortable and stable enough to be able to just strictly make content? And how did your family feel when you told them? So with Vine, I was working full time with Vine because I wasn't making nearly enough money, like from just sponsored stuff. I think once my like checks started coming in where they were like comparable to stuff that I was making at like my, you know, my design job in the city, my dad was like, okay, I get it. But that was like that took years, you know, to get to that point where you're like, okay, this is like my thing. Like the first, I think, year was definitely like a really big grind because you're relying strictly on, you know, subs. Gifted subs weren't a thing then. Donations and bits and like brand deals, which were kind of like far and in between. So you were really just relying on like the generosity of people watching you. Gifted subs definitely changed the game, I think, for a lot of people because that was when like, and you know, people can kind of just go off, or especially like whales, people could just like be like, here you go. But that was when like if you had 400 subs, it means you had 400 subs. Like that was it. Like none of those were gifted. Like that was 400 people. Where nowadays everyone's numbers are all over the place because, you know, you get gifted subs or there's like primes here and there as well. But yeah, that was something else. But yeah, once I showed my dad like my check where the number was more than what I made at my desk job, he was like, all right, that's fucking wild. Plus, I was always also doing Neatude, so I was able to take essentially a pay cut by streaming because Neatude was also income. So that's another thing to think about. Like I was very lucky where I could focus on making like under $1,000 a month essentially for a little bit with streaming because Neatude was there and that was, you know, enough to pay the bills. Mr. Bailey, I already answered this pretty much, but what was the reason you got into live streaming? My friend convinced me. And then what kept you going? The people who showed up, the chat, the games we played were fun and like addictive. Like PUBG was the PUBG era in 2017 is, I feel like, unmatched in a lot of ways because it was easy to crank out 8 to 12 hour streams. Like it was easy to crank out like streams that were super long because you were just having fun the whole time. This one's from Shay. This is a good one. How do you handle the situations where viewers demand you play a game they want to see? And what's the most respectable way to go about it? If it's someone who's like a regular, you could like gently remind them that like you have plans, you know what I mean? Like, or just say, hey, no, we're not playing that today. But if it's someone who's like new and they're like persistent, you could just time them out or ban them and it doesn't fucking matter. But usually if people like ask if they're like, hey, will there be a 4 cap? A simple, no, we're not doing that today. Boom. You know? But if people are like, can you please play this? When it's like demanding, that can be kind of awkward. So I genuinely like will like ignore it because people then will kind of just fuck off or like just stop asking because it's kind of like a weird thing to do, especially if you're playing a game already and like doing your thing. It's just awkward to like be like, hey, play this. Like, no. All right, this one's from Bono. Is there one thing if there's one thing that you would like your viewers to be doing in their day-to-day lives to make the world a better place? Just be good. Just be good to people. Just be positive. And just like, you know, just be good. Like, be a good person. I don't know. Like, it's I don't know. Like, it's like enjoy yourself. Enjoy. Honestly, one of the biggest things you can do is take a break from the internet. Like, actually go outside and like fucking do social media resets and like take breaks. You'll thank me later. Because if you get too fucking locked in or fucking fall down the rabbit hole of like just being online always and like terminally online, you're gonna fucking forget what reality you're in. So take day trips, do things, go outside, look at a fucking cloud. What goals have you set for yourself with streaming? How do you measure your success? This is by Art by Nims. So goals is just like streaming, you know, I genuinely try to stream 4 days a week, right? I try to stream at least 4 days a week, at least minimum.
18 Mo W best.
Usually I'll do 5. I try 4, but sometimes I'll do 5. On the rare occasion, 6. But with how many people, you know, who tune into me and how many subs, you know, I have that come back and all the content that I'm posting and stuff, like I feel like it'd be silly to only do like, you know, 3 or 2. Like I feel like I have to be doing at least 4. And then I don't have like an actual schedule. It's just like usually nighttime I'll be on. Because having a schedule for me feels too serious and feels like it would feel too artificial. And also, like, if I didn't genuinely want to stream that day, I wouldn't want to let people down. So that's why I like having, you know, my own schedule. But how do you measure success? It used to be subs, but now for me, it's like just the vibe of the chat and like people showing up and like who's in chat and like how I leave once I hit like, you know, offline. Like if I'm like smiling and like stoked and like that was so fun, like good times, like that's more of a W for me because I think people will most likely come back if it was like a good stream versus just hoping that I hit X amount of subs, you know? But yeah, measuring my success, especially with like streaming, like YouTube is a big thing now too, like how YouTube videos do or how TikToks do. Like I think just like how many people are showing up and who's showing up and if you're having a good time. Like obviously like that's easier said than done because like you also have to pay the bills. So like making enough money where you could like pay your bills is like a great measure of success. But I've been very fortunate where we are, so I'm able to do that. But nowadays it's mainly just like, you know, the vibes and like if it's a good stream, it feels good. That's a W in my book. How do you deal with imposter syndrome as a content creator? That's a good question because I know a lot of people deal with that in different ways. A lot of people will experience this or have this, I think, in some regards. You know, it's like people are only here because of this, or like people are only showing up because they're not on, or this or that. But at the end of the day, like if people are showing up to some degree, that's because they want to watch you or like you know, consume your content, and that's really cool. It's hard. The problem with like streaming is like the eyes that are on you and the people who are there. It's all numbers based, so you're gonna have a lot of people. Like the numbers can directly mess up, you know, your brain, right? And it's very odd because I don't think we as humans were meant to have this much like immediate reaction to things. Like you can see if people like you could literally see like in a few seconds like people leave your stream or like people not show up or like this or that, and it's very bizarre. But yeah, imposter syndrome is normal. It happens with every industry, especially this one. I think it's like one of the most prevalent, and it's easier said than done. But you know, just know that even if you have one person showing up, that's fucking awesome. And you can't. I think one of the biggest turnoffs as a streamer that you could do is complain about your numbers or your viewership while you're live, because anyone who's watching you will immediately be like, okay, do I not fucking matter? Should I fuck off? It's easier to it's solid to be like, you know, upset, sure, and like bummed, but like to complain about it while people are watching, it's kind of like it's like strange because it's like complain about like the food that you're eating while you're in the restaurant, you know. And it's tough because you don't want to be negative, but you also don't want to like complain about it because then like more people won't show up in the future because of that. So you have to just be transparent, but you don't always have to be as transparent as you think. Maybe. I feel like I'm not the best person to ask about this because I don't experience it as often as I used to. Because I just have too many other things going on. I have too many other things that I'm constantly thinking about. So this isn't really one thing that I'm thinking about because I'm at that stage now where it's like, I think I've kind of like know that like things are happening and people are here and things are going on. So I can't really give you a full like answer. All right, Emma, here we go. This is a good question. This one's from Emma Intro. Do you think Twitch is or could become too saturated with streams? Like, is there a point where there is no niche to fill? It already has. It already is. There's already way too many streamers. There's way too many partners. I saw this tweet the other day that was so good. I wish I could find it. I liked it. I'm going to see if I could find it. It really it was solid. Let me see if I can find it. I liked it. Here it is. Here it is. This tweet from Aaron Creer. Respectfully, a lot of you guys jumped on the content creator wave with a lot of the free time you had in 2020. I recommend all people follow their dreams, but y'all be wanting luxury shit when it took your favorite influencer 6 to 7 years to get there. And that's why it's so hard. You're skipping all the necessary steps. And there's so many people on Twitch who are just like, here we are, you know? And a lot of people, it's that's a fucking wild tweet, because so many people during COVID have done are like influencers, TikTokers, streamers, fucking YouTubers. Every fucking hobby you had, you made it a job because everyone was fucking bored. Everyone was bored. Everyone had nothing going on. They were working from home or like this or that or whatever. And a lot of people were speedrunning shit, which is fucking awesome. But now it's like it's slowed down because everyone's out and about now. Podcasts, everything. And it's tough because you're comparing yourself constantly to your peers, but in reality, it's like some people have been doing this for fucking ever. And it's tough. It's tough because you have to like sit back, relax, and be like, oh shit, like, okay. So especially if you started streaming in the last 2 or 3 years, you're still a baby in the content creator world. Like, if you're having doubts or like having rough times, it's so fucking normal. It's so normal. So keep that in mind. Like, literally keep that in mind. You're already ahead of the game. You're ahead of the game. Just keep that in mind because you kind of got really lucky, and now you kind of are also in a spot where it's like, oh shit. Now you gotta you gotta figure it out. But like, it's you get into a weird spot. But yeah, it's very saturated. I've talked to Crispy about this. So many people got partnered in the last few years, and there's not enough partner managers at Twitch for every partner. So a lot of people are like free for alling. Like, no one knows what the fuck's going on. To have a conversation with someone high up, like, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. You know? Unless you bring them, you know, certain things that they want. Like, it's almost impossible. So that's just something to think about. Like, if times are tough or if numbers are weird or this or that, like, just know that, like, you already got to a point that you might not even have ever gotten to where you are now. Like, you already got a head start. You already took a fucking nice leap. So keep fucking pushing. But it's, you know, it could be slow at times. Do I have thoughts on bigger streamers moving to YouTube? And does YouTube have something that Twitch doesn't? I think streamers going to YouTube or TikTok or anything like that is super good. It's super good and healthy, because if everyone was just on Twitch, Twitch wouldn't act on it. They wouldn't like feel like they have to do anything to change, because they're the big dogs, right? So if TikTok drops a new thing or if YouTube drops a new thing, they have to react. They have to figure it out. They have to fight back. They have to, you know, competition is healthy in this industry. It's healthy everywhere. It needs to exist. So big streamers going to different platforms, I think, is a huge thing. I think it's a huge thing. It can be scary if like some of your favorite streamers leave, because I genuinely don't like watching streams on YouTube. I don't know what it is, but I just personally don't care. So what was my end goal for starting streaming? Where is it at now? I think my end goal for starting streaming was always just to like make people laugh, have a place where I could like chill, have fun, and like make a living playing video games. Like, that was kind of like the end goal, I guess. But now it's gotten a lot bigger, because we're balancing not only like a community, but we have the stream team. We have Team Need To now. You know, I got a clothing line. I have a house. I have cats. So being able to still, make sure I can, pay all my bills, but also work on other things as well and have time to still stream. The end goal has gotten bigger, doing more charity work, doing more events. Like I had, like with Mick, we had a lot of fun doing events, especially like the Mario Party one recently that we did. Like I want to do more of those and like help raise and have fun with like other streamers on the community and help give platform new people like that. So doing more events I think is a big thing as well. So that's definitely something that I'm trying to do more with, like Endgame, like just lifting other people up and still having fun and maintaining what we do over here as well. Ellie, this is Ellie Grace's question. This is a good one. Did you find that your growth on Twitch was gradual, or that there was a specific time where it all just blew up for you? So there's like different like chunks where you can kind of tell. Like when I first started, it was like that was like the initial boom, right? And then playing with J&J back in the day, a lot of Dink members came over, and that was a huge influx of people. Having like certain videos blow up on Reddit or TikTok, you'll get new viewers in as well. But in terms of like specific games, I think AC was kind of like the make or break game for me. Like Animal Crossing was the game that gave me like this weird trajectory that was something I was never expecting, and then it like died out, and then it blew up again, and like we had another initial boom from it. Like that was like I think Animal Crossing was the first time I had like 1,000 viewers concurrent without a host, which was wild for me. So weird. So AC was a big one. And yeah, I don't. Among Us was up there, but I think Animal Crossing was still my first like 1,000 banger. But maybe Among Us was there too. This one's from Kara. So what is your advice to someone who is looking to join a stream team? And since you're the owner of a stream team, what are you looking for? So stream teams are dope. I don't think they're like the end all be all in terms of like being successful on Twitch, but I do feel like a lot of people benefit from being on one. One thing that you need to think about and ask yourself is, how can you benefit a stream team? Like why would a team choose you over someone else, right? Because there's tons of people constantly applying, to join a bunch of them. What makes you different or stand out than everyone else? Like currently with Neat Dude, we already have, I think, too many members because you want to keep it like tight knit and close. And we have a lot of people who joined early on, and then over the last few years, we'll add a few new people every couple months or whatever. But if we were to accept everyone or accept like 5 to 10 people a month, it would just get too like bloated. It would just feel like it's kind of losing its purpose, and that's why we only really try to accept like 1 to 2 people every couple months, like slow and steady. Integrate them in, like have fun, like fucking hang out, like learn about people, get people like different kind of streamers, like people who are up to like different games, etc. And yeah, it's not even like viewership's cool, but it's mainly like content and consistency. Consistency is so big. A lot of people will apply and then they won't stream again for like months, and you're like, like why would we choose you over someone who's on a lot more? Like you want to choose people who are putting in the time, or at least consistent. But at the same time, it could be tough because some people, who are already on it, like have other shit going on, and like they can't get on for a few months or whatever. So it's awkward too, because like you don't want to like nudge people and be like, hey, have you been on? Yeah, I've had to take people off who just don't stream anymore. And if they, they get back on, sure. But like, it's awkward because it's like, oh, you're cool. But like, we want to make it a place where people feel like, they're a part of something. And if you just are not really doing anything or like not streaming anymore, it's like, okay, we move on, Leela, it depends. I watch Crispy and like Sammy a lot during the day, and they're all pretty consistent with their like streams. Like they're usually streaming during the day. So I'll tune into them a lot. And I could like almost not rely on them, but like know that they'll be on. At night, since I'm normally streaming, I don't really have people I watch at night. But like, if I'm not on, I'll tune into someone usually. And then the late night, you know, you got your D-gens like Julia and Banth, like the late night crowd, who I'll tune into. But yeah, I guess like you usually know if someone's on based on the time frame. But it's, I don't know. Some people have schedules. Some people just are just on at like whatever time. This is a good question right here. How much longer do you see yourself streaming for? Do you ever think about what you do if you ever stop streaming? So guys, this is it. I'll see you guys later. Nah, I'm just kidding. Realistically, it depends. Like if I can, you know, save enough money and just like live off of that for the rest of my life, I think I would probably invest it and just chill and like stream when I feel like it. But I don't see it going away anytime soon because, you know, it's fun and I have a good time with it, and you know, I'm able to, you know, afford certain things. But it is interesting. Like, who knows where I'll be in 5 years? Like, will I be fucking tired? Will I be burnt out? Will I be weird? Will I be different? Will there be 0 games? Or will it still be like fun? Because I also don't like where will a lot of people be in 5 years? Who knows? Some people might fucking not be on the site anymore. People might be watching elsewhere. It's a very strange, ever-changing landscape. But if I ever did stop streaming, I would probably, you know, we would probably still do Neat Dude. I would probably still make content and still do a bunch of fun shit and maybe try to be like just do more traveling. I think traveling is the biggest thing I would want to do if I ever stopped. I think traveling is the wave. You know? But that would be if it ever happened. But like, I don't see it happening anytime soon. And I still am able to travel, but like, you really can't travel much unless you like stream it. Because you can't take too much time off. This question is from Nix. Since Twitch is such a large space with thousands of streams, people want to call home. What can someone do to stand out and draw the right crowd of people in for them? Doing something too outlandish will most likely bring trolls, and doing nothing at all won't bring people in. How do you make your space on the internet your own without feeling like you're stealing other people's vibe unintentionally? Really, really good question. I think the longer you stream, the more comfortable you get. Like, me 5 years ago until now is a completely different energy. I was not sure what I had to do in front of the camera. I was kind of awkward. I was like quiet and like soft-spoken and just like weird, right? Whereas now I feel like I'm more able to like, you know, riff off people and stuff like that. So time is a big thing. Time really helps, and you can kind of figure out your vibe. But also like setting boundaries is huge, especially early. Setting boundaries is massive. Like, you know, what you talk about, what you don't talk about, age restrictions, things like that. You could really set you can set the tone initially big time with that. So I would say that's a big thing. And just like, you know, figuring out your vibe. Like, some streamers have such different energy. Like, some streamers are very like, you know, cozy, comfy, like, come on in, guys. You know, this is a safe space. Others are like, I don't fucking care about chat. I'm going to fucking sweat and just play this game, and I'm super good at it, but I'm kind of toxic. And so like, but that's like the energy that they're bringing. So that's the chat that they're going to have, you know? And like everyone's is very different. So it depends on like what energy or vibe you want to bring in. Like, I feel like mine's, you know, like, hey, I like to play games, but I also like to have conversations. I like to hang and chill and whatever. But like, I'm not like oh, I love you so much. Thank you so much for subbing, guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. Like, I don't like, you know, like, that's not my style. Like, I'm not like, I love you. Like, that's something that I later on in my content career, was very against, like, for me personally, because you don't know who's watching and you don't want to like say shit like that. I think it's kind of like, it can get borderline like weird. So I don't ever say that kind of shit because I don't, you know, I don't love you because I don't fucking know who you are, you know, like, it's just how it is. Some people say it, you know, however they want, but that's just me. I don't fucking know you. I'll love the energy and vibes, sure. But like, I don't love you. I don't fucking know who you are. And also, I don't ever call my stream a safe space because it's not. It can be individually for certain people, but I think calling it one, it can be risky as well because it could attract the worst people. Also, it could attract people who prey and want to ruin that vibe. So calling it something like that when you don't have any control over the internet is scary. It's very individual based, but I will never call it that ever. I will never call it that because it's not. You know, it's not. It's also a lot of pressure on the person who's live, like, because then it's like if anything happens, like, is that on me? You know, like, no, because I never said that. But some people, I don't know. It's interesting. But that's also just my take, and like that's just how I am. But everyone's different. Everyone does their own thing. What is a good starting setup for a beginning streamer? How do you keep things affordable? Secondhand shops, Facebook Marketplace, you know, eBay, cheaper products for the time being. But mainly like Costco. Costco's good. Bruno used to stream on Costco. Computers, I think. But yeah, this is from Space Jet, by the way. But yeah, a monitor or two, or if you have like an iPad or a laptop to read chat, because reading chat is like necessary if you're streaming. So having that as an option is huge. And then like a decent computer with a decent graphics card. Because you could always play on like a lower setting and stream it, you know? This one's from Zeph. How do you feel about newer chatters coming into stream and dropping a lot of money or bits and subs? Curious what goes through my head. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable if it doesn't seem genuine, if it seems like there's an ulterior motive, or if it seems like it's for attention or something that it seems off. It makes me feel weird. And some streamers will be stoked about it, but I've had plenty of experiences in the past where like people weren't in the right state of mind, people were under the influence, or things were just not good, and you know, you could tell. So if it's a new person, especially, unless like they're doing it because like they, you know, like, hey man, here's 5 gifted subs, loved your videos, sure. But if someone's like gifting 100 subs, a bunch, it's like clearly like, okay, and like they're brand new, it's kind of like, okay, what's up, you know? And then because then the whole chat kind of focuses on that. But I mean, everyone's different. Like some people will be like, yo, fuck yeah, thanks for the $500, man. But also some people like are just are very generous, and they're like, here you go, keep it up. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's a tough conversation because like a lot of people who went hard early on have stuck around too, you know. But also like they were kind of initially a part of it. It's just like you want to make sure it feels like it's coming from a good place and not from like a negative, toxic spot. If that makes sense. Because, you know, I'm always down to drop fucking bangers in people's streams and stuff, but you want to make sure that it feels right and not like there's something else going on behind the scenes. It's never expected. Like a lot of stuff's never expected. It's always very much appreciated, and it's strange too, because like when I first started streaming, if I got like 5 gifted subs, I would lose my mind. But as you like have been doing it for a while, it's like I'm still super grateful of that exact amount, but you can't have the same reaction as you would the first time. Like it's hard to be like fuck yeah every single time, because I'm genuinely stoked. Like I appreciate that a lot, but you can't have the same reaction always. It's weird. But at the same time, like I do think it's very appreciated. Like a lot of like, you know, obviously like I fucking it's above and beyond and very, very much appreciated. Like it's hard to, you know, say it without sounding like a broken record. Oh yeah, Blount. That is a whole skill in itself.
Mod check.
Especially people who ask like the same questions, or just ones that are just kind of like, what is it? Like, go talk to someone somewhere. Like go talk to someone. Like people who just like ask questions that don't even have anything to do with like the stream, and it's like they're clearly only in here to like just try to talk about like some random shit that's completely unrelated. Like you're in the middle of like a fucking 1v1 in like a Fortnite match, and they're like, what color should I paint my room? I don't fucking know, man. I'm trying to get a fucking kill here. I don't know. Who gives a fuck? Green. They're not trying to be funny. Trust. You could tell. Jeez Louise. You could tell when there's someone who's trying to be funny. And when someone's just like asking random questions for some reason. You could definitely tell. Trust me. Like there's two, like you could tell. The best question is like, what game is this? Hey, what game is this that you're playing currently? Have I got news for you? It's right fucking there. Literally right here, dude. Another one that's like funny is if you're playing a single player game and like someone leaves for 3 hours and they come back and they're like, hey, did I miss anything important? Hey, anything happen in the last 3 hours? Could someone fill me in on everything that happened in the last 3 hours? Well, yeah, hold on. Let me pause the game. So, this main character died. This person is now a witch. This house turned into a fucking submarine. Sandra, no. That happens a lot in a lot of chats. If people are talking amongst themselves, sometimes I'm like stoked. I'm like, fuck yeah, okay, cool, guys. You guys do your thing. You know, I'll just like focus on like whatever the fuck I'm doing. But one thing that I've seen in a lot of streams, especially like our communities, is like sometimes like a sick kill will happen on like one of my friends' streams, like a sick double kill, and the chat will be like, my dog just farted. Oh my god, I hate when that happens. It's like, bro, not one person give a fuck about that sick headshot. Like, that was a sick fucking kill, and no one even mentioned it. So I'll try to be like, yo, dude, nice. Or I'll text them, yo, sick kill. How long do you hope to stream for before you decide to move on and try a different job? Or do you hope to stream until you retire? Interesting question from Katie. I mean, it all depends on like where we are. Like if I'm still streaming at 40 and I still have like viewers and like subs and people who are like down, I'll probably still be doing it, right? But if I'm like, rounding 40 and like it's just like me, fucking Machado, and like, one other person, then what? It's like, all right. And I know it's easy to say right now, I'm never leaving, whatever. Dude, the amount of internet communities I've been a part of over my like 16, 17 year tenure, video game forums, fucking Dig, Reddit, like Vine, like, dude, you move on eventually. You find new places to hang. You have new hobbies, new interests. Like, you're never gonna stick around forever in a certain spot. I know it makes you sad, but like right now, this chat will look very different in 6 months. It'll look very different in 1 year. That's just how it is. It's just how it is. People come and go, man. People come and go. And that's fine. It's just weird because with what I do, I always need new people to show up because people who hang out for a while eventually, like, other things happen. Life changes. A relationship. A kid. A job. All right, let's see. This is a question from Zach. It seems like you're one of the very few people who continue to grow on Twitch. What the fuck? That's really nice, by the way. Thank you, man. Besides being an excellent streamer, what do you feel like has worked out? What has worked for you regarding growth? A few things. I think growing my YouTube channel and like having consistent uploads was one of the smartest things I've ever done when it comes to Twitch. Well, that's one of the coolest things about this community is like Kush has been here since the beginning and now edits for me and is a fucking legend. And I pay him a decent amount of money, right? Like, and he fucking is cracked and he edits like, a few videos a week, Nix does all my, thumbnails. Nipsey makes all of the alerts. It's like people who are just around, who are hanging out, who also have talents that it's like fun to showcase and like, it's really cool. But yeah, I mean, in terms of growth, YouTube is huge. Playing in lobbies with other streamers is huge. Being in other streamers' YouTube videos and like just being like a funny guy on there is helpful. Like tons of people have come over to my stream and been like, "Hey, you were really funny in Granny's YouTube video. Hey, I heard you on Julia's stream. Hey, like you were funny in that Among Us video that Julian posted." Like that is all growth that just happens from people hearing your voice or hearing you interact with others. So I think like that helps a lot. Like being associated and being in a group of people are eventually gonna come check you out if they're curious. The part 2 is, have you ever had a dip or burnout, and how do you deal with it? Yes. So I think everyone goes through burnout to some degree if they're like tired of the same game, or because dude, like there's always like the thought that like one day people are just gonna go somewhere else, or people are gonna find another streamer more entertaining, or this or that, or like whatever. Like I couldn't imagine like watching myself only forever. Like it's just how it is. People move on, or people do other things. So that, alongside of what you want to play, can greatly impact your mental health. So if I'm ever feeling like I'm burnt out or like exhausted, I'll take some days off to recalculate and figure out like what I want to do, and try to sprinkle in some new shit, like a new playthrough, or like some fun games that involve the community, or just whatever, something different. Like literally like today, like this is like a great example of something different and new, because I didn't want to just sit here and play fucking Fortnite for 8 hours. Like I wanted to do something different, talk to you guys, but also have some fun and answer some questions. So this is like a great example of like something different, Here's a question, by the way, from Michelle. What are some boundaries that you've set mentally, but some you've made known to the community? Is there any you've wanted to step you haven't done just yet? So boundaries, I guess, is like, just don't be creepy. Don't be a fucking weirdo. Don't be a piece of shit. Don't make any comments that, are like just like too much. Like, don't. I think one thing that like can make me uncomfortable, if you're like if you're a new chatter and you like comment on my looks like initially, that's kind of odd because I don't really know anything about you. Like, it's one thing if it's like someone saying something about how I look. You look nice today, and it's like someone who I know. It's like, oh, thank you, appreciate it. So do you, whatever. But like if you're new and you're like, hey, handsome, and I don't know who you are, it's just like, yeah, who the fuck are you? Like that's just I'm good, kind of. But I think a lot of people feel that way. Like I'll ignore most of those comments because I just think they're pointless. Like, what's the point? Like, all right, cool. Like I'm good. I'm here to vibe and play games. Like you don't need to tell me that. Yeah. But I don't get that nearly as much as like a lot of other people. I can't imagine fucking getting that nonstop. And then like when someone's like super fucking wasted in chat, that's awkward. I think, I saw Ban tweet about that the other day, but like when someone's like obviously like need water drunk, that's uncomfortable. It's on both sides. When you're streaming and when you're in chat, both are shitty. Both suck. And it's awkward. It's just awkward. And shit happens sometimes. No, tat compliments are fine. That's cool. Hey, your tats look sick, or hey, you look good today. Like, cool, thanks. But hey, handsome is just like, if I don't know you like on that level, then it's just weird. Like I'll call like Robert and like Rob and John Cheeto's handsome and stuff because like we're on that level because we're homies. But if I don't know you, it's like, hey, what's up? Like I think some people just like get various levels of like intoxication. Like I genuinely think, especially lately, if I'm sipping, I'm just chilling. Like I'm not like blackout fucking wasted. Like I'm usually just like vibing socially and like sipping and like maintaining like a decent buzz. If I ever get to like a certain point with like on champagne nights, or it's usually for like special events, and then I fuck off and go to bed, or like emo night or something. But yeah, when people in chat are like too much, it could kind of set a weird tone. So just keep that in mind for sure. Another thing too is like making fun of other streamers that I'm playing with when you're like not part of the banter or part of the group can be odd, because or like just making comments about someone's voice or just like their appearance or shit could be like odd, and it's just kind of like it doesn't really go anywhere. The conversation doesn't really go anywhere. Like, all right, cool. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, be like, oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just odd. Yeah, I hate that when someone's like, yeah, who's in the bathroom or whose mic sounds like shit. It's like, dude, not everyone has a fucking Shure SM7B. Any games I keep for off stream? I love Hearthstone. Yeah, and you're not gonna like every streamer. You're not gonna like everyone I play with. Sometimes I'm in a lobby with people who you probably can't stand. Dude, just don't watch the stream. Literally bounce. You know? And I think most people probably do that. Like, they don't say it. They're not in chat being like, man, I'm playing with them tonight again. Sheesh. Like, they just who cares? Fuck it. Who cares? Okay, this is a good question from Marky right here. Any advice on personal branding and remaining yourself as a streamer? So, like, as a streamer, you have to kind of brand yourself, right? Which is awkward. Because we're all just guys, right? Like, I'm just a guy. Mark's just a guy. Crispy's just a guy. Bruno's just a guy. But you have to, like, brand yourself in a certain way. Whether it's, like, with, like, a certain font or a certain vibe or a certain aesthetic or, like, you know, even emotes. Like, dude, emotes are such a big thing. I love emotes. I love my emotes so much because I see them I see them everywhere. I see them in other chats, and, like, that's when you know you did something right. That's when you know that, like, you made something that was, like, smart and useful, and people are getting their money's worth. Whether it's just using a chrismelberger or a chrismelberger in another chat, like, making emotes that are fucking good. If you're a streamer and you have empty emote slots, you should fucking not have those. And I'm calling you out right now. If you have empty emote slots, fill them up with fucking anything. Fill them up. Put something there, man. Because why aren't you? That's all free marketing. That's all free marketing, man. And it's also just fun. It's fun as hell. It's fun as hell. Do I think being on Vine helped me in any way? 100%. 120%. If I wasn't on Vine, I would not be a successful streamer. I wouldn't even have streamed. I'd be working somewhere in New York City in a fucking design studio. I would not be a streamer. Literally, I would not. It pushed me towards this world. I would never have fucking... And, like, so many other people wouldn't have. Yeah, literally in Brooklyn somewhere. Because I also, with Vine, I had a lot of people who I played with who also have followings, who other people, you know, came over from there as well. It's just, it's weird. All right, this one's for Pablo. Here we go. Do those larger streamers who have a massive presence on social media find that it's tough to go out places without getting recognized? Or is that not common? Yes. 100%. I could go anywhere and blend in. I look like every fucking guy. I can go to a brewery and just exist, you know? I look like every fucking guy there. But some streamers have such specific looks or have such a reach that, yeah, like, you can't go out. Like Mizkif or like XQC or like Pokimane most likely get recognized any single time they're out. There's just no way they don't. Tim the Tatman, easily. Big dude with tattoos, bald, like, easily. Now, the thing is, do they like it or hate it? I don't know. It's humbling to get recognized every once in a while, but if it's like consistent or if it's like annoying or ruining like the vibe, that could suck. I used to get recognized a lot during the Vine days. Like pretty much, I still do, which is weird. Like, I'll still get recognized for Vine, and people, I think, just thought I just like died because like no one like ever gave a like move to Twitch. They'll be like, "Yo, what the hell you been up to, man?" It's been a little bit. Like, I'm still doing stuff, man. I'm still doing shit over here. But like, I'll still get recognized for like the 6-second videos, and it's very humbling. All right, this one's from Sam. This is a good question. How does it feel to constantly talk for like 7+ hours at a time? Does it drain you mentally or physically? If I talk for more than 10 minutes at a time, I feel like I'd pass out. Dude, it's a lot, actually. Any other streamers will know, like, talking consistently for this long, like, you know, you have to make sure you're hydrating. I find myself a lot of times having like streamer brain or like brain fog, where like I can't think of certain words that are super common because you're constantly saying the same shit over and over again. You know, either like thanking a sub or like talking about the game or like reading the same fucking messages. So after a while, like you get better at it as you do it more often, but it is weird. It is weird to like essentially be like, yeah, I talk for essentially, 8 plus hours sometimes. But yeah, like you have to just be careful. You don't want to lose your voice since that's literally what I need to stream. If I didn't have a voice, I'd be in trouble. Oh my God, Shan, shut up. Chris will sometimes refer to IRL people as chat. Bro, that sucks. I've done that. I've literally hung out with people and called them chat on accident. Dude, whatever. I called J&J chat once in their own house. Oh yeah, no. I'll sign off Discord sometimes with Sammy and I'll literally be like, all right, well, I'll be seeing you. And like the way I say it is the same cadence as me like signing off a stream. And she'll be like, here's the sign off. This guy's ending stream. But it's just me and her or something. Can you talk a little bit about your this one's good. Can you talk a little bit about the editor team? So Kush and Nix are two people who do a lot of work behind the scenes that you guys are familiar with, whether it's the YouTube videos, any of the clips on TikTok or Twitter, and all the thumbnails. And then Nipsey does all the alerts. So a lot of times I'll mention something like to Nipsey. I'll mention like, hey, I might need this new alert, and then he'll come back to me like a day or 3 later with something that's like almost done, and I'll give him some feedback, and then he'll have it done, and I'm like, all right, and I Venmo him, and that's it. I'm like, here's money, and he usually is like, wow, thank you very much. So I'm like, okay, cool, that was enough money for him to be stoked, and then cool, and then we work again on something else. Nix is more structured because it's like X amount per thumbnail, and if the thumbnail is like more detailed, it'll be a little bit more. And then emotes are a different tier as well. But like that's pretty consistent if we have a lot of videos coming out. Kush, I just fucking am like Venmoing almost every other day. Literally, like it's like, here you go. Here, because it's like we fucking like 2 videos here, a video there. Like, here you go, man. Here's this. Kush is the most chaotic because like it'll be like, here's a video for for Twitter, or here's a video for YouTube. But it's also like sometimes it can be inconsistent. Sometimes you could have like no videos and it could be a dry week, like it could be a really dry week. So like Nix is just like, all right, guess no thumbnails. And Coach would be like, yeah, nothing funny happened on your stream for a whole week. Like, yeah, sorry. Or it's a great week and he's like, yo, I have 12 videos. What the fuck? And I'm like, all right, here you go, man. It can literally, it's all over the place. That's why it's strange. What's something you learned about yourself through Twitch streaming that you wouldn't have otherwise? I'm trying to think. What's something that you learned about yourself through streaming that you... I guess like some of like I've learned a lot about like conversing with people. I think one thing that I like to do is get people out of their comfort zones, but in like a positive way. If that makes sense. Like I really like kind of prodding and making people come out of their shell. That's one of my favorite things to do. Because I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm very like comfortable being, where I'm at, but I love getting other people out of their shell because I see the potential in people a lot of times, and I feel like it's fun to like just see how far we could take that, whether it's gaming or like drawing or whatever. I've always been like that though. I feel like in an IRL. So that's something that I've learned that I like to do. But also like, there are negative things you learn about yourself as well, or like things that you didn't know that you had, or that you like. Sometimes I'll find myself like talking over people, or whatever, or like not letting people finish their sentence, or like barging in, or early on like my lobbies were very very similar always. Like it's like nice to like branch out and like learn more and like try to do things with more people, keep them interesting. So it's a learning experience. The thing that sucks though not sucks, but like if you ever make a mistake or if you're ever like growing as a person, everything's already online with what you do. So it feels like like 5 years ago could feel like yesterday if you like, if the content's there. But in reality, like that's a long fucking time. You can change dramatically within that time period. But since it's all documented online, it's kind of like very different than a normal 9 to 5 or whatever. When your audience grows, does the pressure to entertain grow as well? Yes. Sometimes I'll have like 1,000 people in here and I won't have a plan. Like imagine the power and like the pressure of like having 1,000 people just being like, all right, what's on the table today, dude? I have nothing, man. No idea what I'm doing today. It's weird. It's very weird. And I've always said I love where we're at. I think like between 500 and 1,500 viewers is like the sweet spot for me. Like I love that amount because chat, I mean, even under 500 is fucking fine, like for real. Because I like having a chat that is slow enough where people can talk, but fast enough where it looks like it's popping. But also like, it's like not too scary to talk in chat or whatever. And I thought that's a sweet spot. Do I pay attention to the number of viewers after stream? Sometimes I'll look into it, but I really genuinely don't look at it live. I know. I'm not like paying attention to it. I'm not like, oh shit, we lost 5. I used to. Early on, I used to, and that would destroy me, dude. Like you would know when someone went live, and you would see like your numbers go down. You'd be like, all right, guess someone's live, and that would just fuck with you for the rest of the stream. This one's really good, but also like, it's a tough one as well. Celestia, what can I say? Everyone had good questions. Is it ever awkward being a successful streamer when you have friends who struggle with their own streaming careers and views? Or do you ever feel pressure to share your audience for their benefit, or feel like they can't celebrate your own success at the time because they're at a different place? This is a very it's a sensitive question as well because everyone's different. The weirdest thing about streaming is your coworkers and your friends, and hear me out, they're not competition, but they kind of are in a way because you're at the end of the day, people's eyes, right, are going to be on whoever stream they want to watch. So when you're playing a game and your friend's playing and like someone's watching your stream, that's because they're there and they're vibing. And it's weird because in this space, people dictate like success and like their livelihood sometimes and like their viewership. And that could suck because you could feel like really shitty if you don't have, a certain amount of viewers, whereas someone else who you feel is just as good as you, or literally like your friend, has a bunch more or a bunch less. And there were times early on where like people would get jealous, they would get toxic, they would be really shitty if you were doing well, and they would get like bummed and be like, well, why am I not doing well? Why am I not, doing this or that or whatever? And it's definitely a weird kind of strange place to be in because, you come on, that's fair. But like, I'm in a position where like, I know I have, more, some more eyes than me at times. So I genuinely do love bringing, the chat and the community to other streamers, right? To people who have like a lower viewership or someone who I know is entertaining or fun, and share the love or whatever. Or I try to, get games with people every once in a while where it's like, hey, let's have some fun, and it's easier for me to talk like this. You know what I mean? Like it's easy for me to be like, yeah, that's cool, whatever. But like, I was in the shoes of someone who had low viewership, who had people around me doing well, and you kind of feel like you're suffocating or drowning at times. And I know this might sound like, like silly, but like genuinely seeing a lot of other people rising to the top and you're kind of like feeling like you're sinking or like falling behind, you're kind of like, what am I doing wrong? Or what is not working or clicking here that's allowing everyone else to kind of rise? But in reality, you're not doing anything wrong. You just haven't found your stride yet, or you haven't found what clicked yet, or you haven't made the right pivot yet. And whether, it's like your schedule or like what you're doing or this or that, or like what games you're playing. But it is a very strange industry because like one of your closest friends could be a top 10K streamer, and someone else could be a top 30 streamer. And top 10K earner versus top 30 earner is very different. Very different lifestyle. But then you could be in the same fucking lobby and just be goofing around. You know? So it's very odd. But that's just how it is, man. It's literally how it is. Like, you have to just kind of accept it for what it is and just keep it going. But yeah, I try my best to, celebrate everyone's successes, whether big or small, because it's, it's always exciting. But it is tough. It is tough out there. What is the hardest part of my job for Shan? Great question. Great question. I think the sacrifices of like weekends, potentially, like not going out on like a Friday night, but low key, like she doesn't care about going out as much anymore because like we're in our 30s and we're vibing. We'd like to be home. But going out, I think mainly just our sleep schedule. What up, Cindy? How are you? I think our sleep schedules is the most affected. Because I go to bed and I stream late. So, and she like has to like, she's always awake when I go to bed, no matter what. Because like I think she likes falling asleep with me, which is fine. But we go to bed at like weird hours because I stream late. And so I think that can be a challenge of like, going to bed when it's kind of late. Because then it kind of fucks up the whole next day if we don't wake up at a certain time. So I think like our sleep schedule is probably the biggest issue. And then like doing things around the house, I could probably like participate more. But she kicks ass. She's a fucking beast. Like she does a lot of shit. And, I appreciate her super, super much. So she did work. She had a job in 2020. And then with COVID, it was like strange because like there wasn't a work from home option because it was all in-person stuff, and their COVID protocols weren't good. So she like was like, okay, I'm not going in. And then it's gotten to a point where like she does like, she works part-time like selling stuff, but she's mainly like just a stay-at-home fucking like work around the house person. But she does everything, man. Like she does a fucking lot. Like she does like I'll like feel guilty sometimes. Like, I feel like I'm like damn, like because I'm working, and we're like I'm like bringing some money in, but it's like she's doing shit as well. So it's like we're both doing as much as we can. She's a farmer. She's growing veggies and shit, and she's constantly doing shit. She's always running around, and I fucking appreciate it. So that's why like I also take this very seriously because at this point now it's not only for me, but it's for the family. It's for everyone involved. This question's good though. How do you know what games to play and when to play them? Some people probably think that there's a lot more thoughts to it. But it'll literally be as simple as like, yo, what are you doing tonight? You try to slap some games or what? Fortnite? What's good? You know what I mean? But yeah, like I'll text someone and be like, yo, you want a game tonight? And they'll be like, sure. Or like, yo, you guys want a game Friday? Sounds good. And then you have like a set plan. But like, I'm not a weeks in advance guy. Do you follow the game trends? How does it affect when you have tons of people requesting a new game that might not necessarily want to play? If enough people want me to play a game, I'll like consider it if it seems like it makes sense. But normally I'll just be like, I'm not into that. Like I've had a few people be like, yo, you're gonna play Evil Dead? I don't know. Probably not. Like I don't know. Like I just like I get it, but it's like it's not something that I think I'll like enjoy maybe, or I don't know. Like it's there's certain games that like V Rising came out, like Lost Ark was here and gone. Like a lot of games that just like are the flavor of the week, and then it kind of like fucks off. Here's a good question. This is from Celestial. Wait, no, this is What have been some highlights in your Twitch career, and has the pandemic changed the way you approach streaming? Yes and yes. So highlights, raising money for charities has always been huge. We raised like over 30K for my mom's foundation one year, which was fucking amazing. Seeing people coming back after 5 years is a huge feat and something I never thought I would see. So that's always exciting. And just like having a good time, like big moments that like stand out that are just like fun and like people, talk about. You love to see it. It's some of my favorite stuff. So that's something that I'm always into. It's just like the inside jokes of people like coming back with the same kind of, content and stuff is always fun. And then the pandemic was such a game changer because a lot of people blew up because of it, like on stream, because so many people also decided to stream because they were like, I'm bored. So it was a great time to be a streamer because everyone was stuck at home, you know? And it also makes you realize like how transient streaming is, because people weren't dependent on it, but people used it a lot, especially for like background noise when, like, you know, during lockdown. But once things opened up, everyone got a big hit and everyone felt it. And you realize like, wow, like it's not that we're expendable, but it's like people are moving, you know, are going back to their new lives and you know, getting back to their new normal. So you realize like, oh shit, like, okay. So it was kind of a kickstart of like, dude, you can't get comfortable. You can never get comfortable with streaming. You have to constantly be innovative or constantly, you know, on your toes, because you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So I think that's the biggest thing is like, just being aware that like in a day or, you know, whatever, in a month, like anything can change kind of. Would you say collabs are smart as small streamers? If so, is there a proper way to reach out? Asking to play with the streamer and chat can be uncomfy. So it's very obvious when someone's like, hey man, like would love to get some games in with you. And you go to their page and like, they just don't have it. Like, you know, they don't really have an established following, or they don't have like a schedule, or they really don't stream that often, but they want to like be on your stream. Right. So I feel like typically like someone who's established usually has shit planned, you know, like 9 times out of 10, they're going to be playing with people that they've already been playing with, right? Like, or like people that they know and can trust, because trust is a huge thing in this space. So people who they trust. So that's something that's something to consider. But like, if you're a smaller streamer, I think playing with others and, you know, working with other people and stuff is super smart. And getting your name out there, but you kind of have to, I think just being a part of a community, especially a smaller one, and just like being present and showing up is super cool. This is from Sammy. If you had to pick one social media platform other than Twitch to post on, what would you pick and why? For me personally, I would say YouTube. If you're just starting out, or if you're trying to blow up, TikTok I think is probably smarter. But if you have like an established audience, YouTube's the way to go. If you're just starting out, YouTube doesn't really make sense because you have to establish yourself. But I think TikTok has way easier chances of blowing yourself up. But YouTube definitely, for me, makes sense, I think. But TikTok, if you're starting out, because like the algorithm is super big. And everyone's on TikTok. But I think it depends on, you know, what kind of content you want to make too. Does the fear of streaming to no one ever stop? It can get quite disheartening to the go live button sometimes. Yes and no. There are certain times where I stream and I'm like, who's gonna show up? Who knows? Whatever. But as long as there's someone in chat talking, you know, or people, you know, chat is moving, that's dope. As a viewer, for the most part, how do you handle entering a new stream? I oftentimes find it very hard not to be awkward. It's discouraging sometimes when I want to support. Would you suggest not chatting or somehow say, what's up? This is a good one. So a new viewer, this one's good. Like, so I've had it happen a lot where like someone who's new is either like fits the vibe immediately or like is completely off for the vibe. And it all depends on just like, you know, picking up on like what people are talking about. So if it seems like people are like joking around or like it's, you know, this or that, like you can kind of start to join the conversation. But it can definitely be overwhelming because a lot of people in chat, you know, have their friendships or their groups or like they're been here for, you know, 3 months, 4 years, whatever. But I genuinely try to like, you know, talk to everyone I see and make people feel welcome and all that shit. Saying something about the game. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Chroma, for sure. But yeah, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, but also like you don't have to. I mean, it depends. Like, what do you want out of a stream? Do you want to talk and like get a reaction, or do you want to just, you know, consume some content? It depends on what you want.